It was almost 1 a.m., and I was too tired to feel anything but the ache in my legs. I'd worked a double shift at the diner, back-to-back tables, broken espresso machine, a screaming baby whose mother gave me a $20 tip with a whispered sorry. The streets were dead. One flickering streetlight above, and nothing but silence and leftover rain pooling in the gutters. My phone was at 3%, my rideshare app frozen. No buses until sunrise. I was halfway down the block, arms folded tight against the cold, when the sound of a slow engine crawled up behind me. I turned, already ready to curse out some creep. But the car didn't speed up, didn't honk, just stopped. A boxy old Jeep. The window rolled down slowly, creaking a little. "Need a ride?" the man asked. His voice was low, calm, not friendly, but not aggressive either. I stepped back. "I'm good." He didn't move, just studied me. "You wrote about never asking for help." I froze. What? In that campus journal. The anonymous column. The one about walking home every night and hoping someone would ask if you were okay. The blood drained from my face. I hadn't thought about that piece in months. I didn't think anyone read it. It was a therapy exercise, more or less. I never signed my name. "Who are you?" I said, my voice sharp. He didn't flinch. "Dr. Adam Rains. Clinical psych. Retired. Sort of." He looked like he could have been in his late 50s. Maybe older. Salt and pepper beard, glasses, worn hands on the steering wheel. Not threatening, but intense. "I know this is strange," he added. "I've been trying to find the author of that piece for 6 months. I only found out it was you last week." "Why?" I asked, half a whisper. He reached into the glove compartment slowly, then held up a folded printout, worn, creased at the corners. "I keep this with me." "The way you described your silence? It felt like my own." I stared at him. "I'm not getting in your car," I said. "That's fair," he said gently. "But would you let me walk with you a while?" "I'll keep my distance." It was such an unexpected answer that I laughed. "Just once." "Okay," I said, "but no weird shrink stuff." He parked the Jeep, stepped out, and locked the door behind him. We walked. 1 block, then another, not saying much. "You really read that column?" I asked finally. He nodded. "You said the world doesn't notice people like us. That we become background noise." I meant it. "I know." I looked over at him. "Why did it matter to you?" "Because I was coming apart when I read it. My daughter stopped speaking to me. I'd retired too early. Everything felt unanchored. And then I read your words and I thought, at least someone else gets it." I was quiet for a moment. I didn't write it to be found. He smiled sadly. Neither did I, really. At the next corner, he asked, "Where's home?" I pointed. 5 blocks. "I can still offer you a ride." I stopped walking. Looked him in the eye. "You don't feel dangerous," I said. "I'm not." "Okay." We got in the Jeep. The heater was on. It smelled like old coffee and cedar. He drove slowly, carefully. "So what now?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "But talking to you tonight? It feels like something I've been trying to do for years." When we reached my building, I didn't get out immediately. "I should be scared of you," I said. "But you're not." "No." He reached into the center console, pulled out a card. "Here. If you ever want to talk. For real." I took it, slid it into my pocket. "I still don't know why you picked me," I said. He looked at me like I was missing something obvious. "Because I saw myself in your pain. And I didn't want to disappear alone." I stepped out into the cold, watched his Jeep pull away. That night, I didn't sleep. And I didn't go home again. Not really. Because something in me had already left and gone somewhere I couldn't name yet. But I knew this much. It started with a ride I wasn't supposed to take. And it felt like the beginning of something I didn't know I'd been waiting for. I didn't call him the next day, or the one after that. But his card stayed in my coat pocket like a weight. I felt it every time I reached for my keys, like it was daring me to act. By day 4, I couldn't stop thinking about him. The way he looked at me, not with pity, but recognition. Like he knew the darkness wasn't gone, just quieter for now. So I texted him. Me, is that coffee offer still on the table? Adam, always. We met at a tiny cafe 2 neighborhoods over, the kind with chipped mugs and faded couches. He was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window with 2 coffees and a book. You remembered my order, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. He smiled gently. You mentioned it once. In that column. Right. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. I keep forgetting you know more about me than most people I've known for years. He didn't apologize. Just nodded. Why me? I asked. You could have read that and moved on. Why look for me? He was quiet for a moment. Then, because when I read your words, I didn't feel alone. And I was very, very alone. I stared into the coffee. I still am, sometimes. His voice softened. So am I. We talked for hours. About nothing. About everything. About the absurdity of existence and why diner coffee always tastes like burnt regret and how it feels to be too young to feel this tired. Somewhere in there, I asked the question I'd been sitting on. What happened with your daughter? His jaw twitched. She found out about a patient. One who got too close. Nothing physical. But too much emotion. Too many blurred lines. You loved her. I wanted to save her. That's not the same. I know. I let that settle. He looked at me. You remind me of her. Not in the way you think. Just in the way your voice sounds when you talk about loneliness. Like it's a place you've been camping in for years. It is, I admitted. We sat in silence for a while. Then he asked, Can I show you something? I nodded. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a folder. Inside were torn pages, underlined sentences, notes scrawled in the margins, copies of my columns. All of them. I saved every piece, he said. I used them in a lecture once. Even after I left the classroom. I was stunned. You taught with these? He nodded. Because they weren't polished. They were real. And sometimes that's what students need most, to see someone bleed honestly on a page. My throat tightened. I didn't know anyone saw me. I did. He reached across the table, slowly, fingers brushing mine. Not holding. Not claiming. Just there. I didn't come here to be your project, I said. You're not, he replied. But maybe you're my mirror. That night, he didn't try to kiss me. And that made me want to kiss him more than anything. I thought seeing him again would settle something inside me. It didn't. It made it worse. The next few days blurred. I kept rereading our texts, replaying every sentence from that cafe like it was a film I wasn't ready to stop watching. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for. More coffee? A confession? Closure? But none of those things happened. Instead, I got silence. The kind that presses in around your ribs and makes you question whether you imagined everything. On Friday night, I caved. Me, are you free? Adam, come by the bookstore. I'm closing it up. I didn't even ask which bookstore. I just knew. It was raining when I got there. He was locking the front doors, hood up, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His face lit up when he saw me. Not brightly, but like something shifted, something opened. I didn't know if you'd come, he said. I didn't either, I admitted. We stood under the awning, watching the rain hit the pavement. Do you ever feel like you're pretending to be okay, just because no one around you knows what to do if you're not? I asked. All the time. We walked in silence for a bit. No umbrella. Just 2 ghosts pacing through puddles, saying everything without speaking. I keep thinking I'm gonna wake up and realize I hallucinated you, I finally said. I'm real, he said. But I think I hallucinated you too. Or hoped for you too hard. We stopped by a closed bakery. The windows fogged. The smell of yeast and sweetness still in the air. You don't feel like a stranger, I whispered. Even though you are. I know. He paused. That scares me. It should. He smiled at that. A small, sad smile. Can I show you something? He asked. I nodded. He led me to a side street, then into the back of the bookstore. It was quiet, dimly lit. He flipped a light on over a reading nook, a couch, some battered armchairs, an old record player. This is where I go when I don't know who I am anymore. I sank into the couch. He sat across from me, elbows on knees, staring at me like I might disappear. I'm not your student, I said. I know. And I'm not here because I want someone to fix me. He leaned closer. Then why are you here? Because when I talk to you, I don't feel like I'm drowning. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just let that sit between us like something sacred. You make me feel less lost, I said. And that's either terrifying or the beginning of something I'm not ready for. Maybe both, he said quietly. I reached across the space between us, took his hand. Not professionally, not platonically, just honestly. His hand closed around mine. No one said anything else. And we didn't kiss. Not yet. But something shifted. And neither of us looked away. The next time we saw each other, everything felt heavier. Not bad. Just charged. He picked me up after my shift again, no fanfare, no comment. Just the quiet understanding that we'd reached a point where pretending this was casual would be the real lie. We went back to the bookstore. He made tea, handed me a mug, and sat across from me like he was waiting for a verdict. You've been quiet, he said. So have you. He gave a small nod. Fair. I stared into the steam rising from my cup. My roommate knows I've been seeing someone. She asked if he was my professor. His lips tightened. What did you say? I told her no. I paused. But I didn't correct the age part. He winced. She didn't take it well? She thinks I'm having some kind of rebellion. Like this is a cry for help. He looked down at his hands. Is it? I slammed my mug onto the table, not hard, but loud enough. No. And I hate that you even asked that. I had to, he said softly. I stood up, paced. My heart was thudding in my chest. You think I'm some sad young girl looking for a father figure? I think, he hesitated. That part of me wants to protect you. And part of me knows that might be selfish. I didn't come to you for protection, Adam. He looked up. Then why did you come to me? Because you listened, I said. Because you saw me when I didn't even know I was still visible. And because, God help me, you make me feel like I'm not broken just because I don't bounce back the way I'm supposed to. Silence. Heavy. Unspoken things buzzing in the air like static. I don't want to ruin you, he whispered. You won't. He shook his head. You're young. You'll change. Wake up one day and wonder what you were thinking. I walked back to him, knelt in front of his chair. I've thought that about every relationship I've ever had. But this. I reached up, touched his chest. This feels like the first thing I chose without trying to fix something inside me. He exhaled, shaky. I don't know how to do this. Neither do I whispered. But I'm still here. He touched my cheek. You deserve someone who hasn't already broken everything good in his life. Maybe, but I want you. That broke something in him. He kissed me. Finally, deep and slow and quiet, like he was memorizing the way I tasted, not because he doubted, but because he knew how much it would matter later. When we pulled apart, I rested my forehead against his. This isn't rescuing, I said. It's recognition. He didn't argue, because he knew I was right. And we didn't go home that night. We stayed in the back room of that bookstore, no walls between us anymore, just breath and truth and the kind of fear that only comes when you know you're falling for real. I woke before he did. The early light crept through the bookstore's high back windows, dust catching gold in the air. I watched his chest rise and fall, slow and steady, like he hadn't slept that well in years. And maybe he hadn't. I reached out, brushed a strand of silver hair from his forehead, and he stirred, not startled, just quietly waking, like my touch was familiar. Hey, I whispered. Hey, he said back, voice still rough from sleep. We lay there for a moment, wrapped in the quiet, until he said, I need to tell you something. I sat up slowly. Okay. He didn't look at me at first, just stared at the ceiling. When I found your article, I wasn't doing well. That night, I'd planned to do something permanent. My breath caught. But then I read your words. I don't know how I even found them, some link buried in a feed. But I did. And it felt like someone had cracked my chest open and written down everything I never knew how to say. I reached for his hand, held it tightly. I carried your words with me like a lifeline, he continued. And I told myself, if I ever found you, I'd thank you. That was all. Just thank you. And maybe I'd have the chance to help you too. Even if it was just with a ride. I couldn't speak. My throat was full of heat, of ache. You were my way back, he said. Not because I needed saving, but because I needed to remember that pain can be a compass, too. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I asked, barely able to get the words out. He finally looked at me. Because I didn't want you to feel responsible for my survival. That isn't yours to carry. I nodded slowly. But I'd rather know the truth than feel like I'm just convenient. You're not convenient, Claire. His voice sharpened with emotion. You're necessary. And terrifying. And the only person I've let that close in years. I leaned in, kissed him soft and slow. You're the only one who didn't make me feel like a burden. He pulled me closer, and we just breathed together for a while. When we got up, he made coffee in the tiny back kitchenette. I sat on the counter, legs swinging, watching him move like we'd been doing this forever. So what now? I asked. He turned, mug in each hand. Now we stop hiding. From each other. From whatever this is. I smiled. You're still scared. Out of my mind, he admitted. Me too. We clinked mugs like a pact. And I realized this wasn't the ending of something broken. It was the beginning of something careful. Something honest. Something that might just be what we both spent years trying to find without even knowing it. A week passed. We didn't name it. We didn't rush it. But every night, we ended up together, at the bookstore, or my apartment, or walking without purpose just to be near each other. He started writing again. Not papers. Not lectures. Just small, quiet things. Fragments on napkins. Lines tucked into the backs of books. Once, he left one in my coat pocket. You said you weren't going home. I think you already are. I didn't cry, but something inside me softened. One night, after a walk where we didn't speak for nearly an hour, I finally turned to him. You know I wasn't planning to go anywhere that night, right? He nodded. And I wasn't planning to stop. We stood by his car. That same old Jeep. Still creaky, still smelling like cedar and old stories. I thought you were just a stranger, I said. Some decent guy on a lonely street. I was, he said. And I'm not anymore. I leaned into him. This was never about the ride. No, he agreed. It was about the stop. I smiled. And about what came after. He pulled me in closer. I spent half my life trying to fix things that were already lost. I didn't think I deserved to find something new. And now? He looked at me the way he did that first night, calm, but full of something sharp and vulnerable. Now I think I'm finally ready to stay. The sky above us cracked with the first sign of rain. But neither of us moved. Because home wasn't a building or a bed or a place to run to. It was a person. And somehow, against all odds, he had become mine. And I had become his. Even if it all started with the wrong turn, the wrong night, and the ride I almost didn't take.